From day one, he promised to focus on the Gilgo Beach killings.
Grateful for the partnership, the teamwork that came together, being able to then attach that green avalanche to Mr. Hiraman, got this case going in the right direction.
So where's the investigation heading now that Rex Hiraman has been charged and another Gilgo victim has been identified? Suffolk Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison is sitting down with NewsdayTV for a one-on-one conversation about the Gilgo killings. Hello and welcome to Studio 2 in Newsday's Melville headquarters for this Newsday TV one-on-one conversation with Rodney K. Harrison, Suffolk County's Police Commissioner. Welcome, Commissioner, and thank you for being here and for talking to Newsday TV and our Long Island audience about the ongoing Gilgo investigation.
Thank you for having me.
You made Gilgo killings a priority from day one of your administration, going so far as to visit Ocean Parkway, I believe on the day you were sworn in 2021. So what were you thinking on the way there?
Yeah, there's a lot of backstories to why I went there so early on in my time frame as the newly sworn in police commissioner. I had a conversation with the county executive, Steve Ballone, and there were a couple of things that he asked me to take a closer look at. And there was a reform plan that he wanted to have implemented. But also, I think one of the main reasons why he nominated me to be police commissioner because of my investigative background. You know, I did 30 years in NYPD. Out of that, 12 years, I was part of conducting investigations or overseeing them. So one of the things that I thought would be important to me to kind of get a little bit of a better understanding is take a look at where the crime scene is and see what was there. Is there something that we could have missed? Is there something that the investigators for the last 12 years could have did a little bit better with? And that's something that I learned during my time frame in the city as being a detective, being a sergeant in the detective squad, as well as being the chief of detectives. It's always good to take a look at the crime scene and evaluate what's there and what can we do better to get the investigation going in the right direction. And that's one of the main reasons why I went over there, and I thought it was instrumental, just me taking a look at the landscape of Ocean Parkway and what's going on in that area. Well,
interesting. Shortly thereafter, or sometime thereafter, you said, "I believe this case is solvable."
Yeah. From my brief interview with what's been done so far, I like our chances.
No one before you, to my recollection, had ever said anything like this before.
Yeah, so I think every case is solvable. I think the most important thing is providing the appropriate resources to an investigation, and that's one of the things that I want to believe that I brought to this investigation is identifying dedicated investigators to this case. One of the things that I quickly learned after speaking to my Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byrer, that they had one investigator assigned to the case and he was still catching other cases. And just knowing what I know and just knowing from my time frame in the city, I knew that was going to get the job done. And we had to take people out of what's called catching orders and pretty much dedicate them to solely investigating this homicide that's really long overdue of being closed out or identifying a subject. So it was a nice eye-opener for me after I was briefed by Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byrer regarding the landscape of who was investigating it. I asked Kevin, I said, listen, this is what we're going to do going forward. I want a sergeant. I want at least 2 detectives dedicated and assigned to this case. And that got the ball rolling.
Well, it's interesting because you did mention your time in the city, but you've also worked with other people, DA Ray Tierney and Suffolk Sheriff Dr. Errol Toulon. They all worked in New York City too. Mm-hmm. So did that perspective between city and suburb, that perspective kind of help you in taking a different look at this case?
So my relationship with Ray Tierney, we did some work together while I was the chief of detectives in Brooklyn North and he was a assistant district attorney working under Eric Gonzalez, the DA out there. And we did a couple of conspiracy gang takedowns out there. Really great work, partnering up with Eric Gonzalez and Ray Tierney during that time frame. I didn't have much of a relationship with Earl, but I knew of him. I knew he was a solid law enforcement official out here, and I knew it was going to be important for us to work together. And not just for the Gilgo case, for just making Suffolk County safe. And I prioritized, when I got here, making sure I worked with Ray, I worked with Earl, and if we had to get other resources involved with either Gilgo or other investigations, I made myself available to do that.
Now, your NYPD background, that come in handy because you did have to work with NYPD and also Nassau County in this case.
Yeah. So the one thing I learned in NYPD, and I kind of shared this during our press conference, is I learned a lot regarding making sure we worked with all of our law enforcement officials. You know, a lot of people may not be aware of this, but when I called and reached out to the FBI regarding them joining the task force, they were reluctant at first. They were concerned about, I guess, some past relationships where they weren't necessarily part of being inside the loop of the case. So I reassured them. I said, that's something that you don't have to worry about any further. I need you. I need your expertise. I need your specialty teams to really be part of this team of investigators that I'm looking to put together. Secondly, and there's a lot of different avenues I want to talk about, but I thought it was important that we were transparent. You know, you take a look at some of the podcasts and a lot of different things that they were saying about the Suffolk County Police Department and their role in Gilgo, and they're covering it up. I thought it was important that we became transparent. So one of the things that I took a closer look at is, well, you know, why are we not sharing the Shannon Gilbert audio and letting it be known that we believe that it's an actual an unfortunate incident? Like, why are we not sharing that? And after I spoke to my detective lieutenant and a couple other investigators, that was something that we thought was important to share. So let people know, hey, listen, your perception of what happened, your perception of the Suffolk County Police Department is inaccurate. And playing that audio, I think, changed it in the right direction. So in essence, my NYPD experience, learning to be transparent, to get people to trust our organization, I believe was very, very helpful going forward with the investigation.
So let's talk a bit about the suspect. There's been a lot of reporting on how some re-examination of old evidence led to the arrest of the suspect, Rex Heuermann. But I would imagine, and you'll tell me, you had to go back and did you do re-interviews, new interviews? I mean, it was more than that, yes?
You know, not only did we do re-interviews, and there was a lot of different investigative steps that I can't tell you every little thing because I'm sure you understand it's still going through a judicial process. But I even took the time out and sat down with John Ray and to see what type of information he had. He was claiming that the Suffolk County Police Department wasn't getting in contact with him regarding information that he had regarding Shannon Gilbert. So I made sure that I made myself available for him and see what he had to do or say, excuse me. I wanted to make sure that anybody that was in our custody was being debriefed. That's why I reached out to Earl Toulon and asked him to put a liaison that's going to speak to anybody who might have been involved in sex work between the time frame of 2007 and 2011, just to kind of re-interview them and see if they knew anything about the Gilgo investigation. So there were a lot of different avenues that we tackled regarding trying to rejuvenate this case. You know, I even took a look at the Crime Stoppers tip award. It was at $25,000. I said, listen, we got to double it. We got to raise it to $50,000. That may get somebody to come forward. The Megan Waterman video over in Hop Hog. I said, listen, let's show that. Maybe that will show people that we're trying to get somebody to come forward and give us information. Any little help can assist us going in the right direction. So putting the task force together, coming up with different innovative ideas, things that I learned in the city, allowed us to be in a place where we are today, which was to identify Rex Heuermann and bring him into custody.
Well, I'm going to double back on Shannon Gilbert for a while. Is there anything in your investigation that changes the notion that her death was accidental, or that she was not a part of the mass murders out there?
It's a horrible accident. It's a horrible accident, and as of right now, myself and the investigators assigned to the homicide squad still believe that it was just an incident where she ran into the marsh and unfortunately drowned on that horrible day.
You've said that the green avalanche, the Chevy Avalanche, was key. How did you get there?
So one of the investigators that was assigned to the task force, she came from the state police, and I'll get into how the state police became part of the task force in a second. But they had access to a certain type of database that they were able to track down a green avalanche inside that Massapequa Park box. And then we were able to take a look at that car being registered to our subject, Rex Heuermann. And once we got that information, that intel, then we started looking into Rex Heuermann's lifestyle. We started working with the district attorney's office and taking a look at phone records and getting subpoenas for a host of other things. And it really assisted us in honing in our efforts into Mr. Heuermann. I've investigated homicides personally. I was a detective in the 7-1 squad. Homicide investigations don't always go in the right direction. The first subject that you identify sometimes is not always the individual who is held accountable. A lot of people are challenged in the Suffolk County Police Department regarding beginning steps in the investigation and what was done wrong, and I think it's very unfair. I will say this, that this was a long journey of a case. There was some good work done prior to me getting here. I want to make sure that this is very clear regarding identifying the box in Massapequa Park, and as well as over in Midtown Manhattan. But just putting that dedicated team together, putting that one investigator from the state police and putting them to the task force, and now she using her database helped us really get this case some good legs and be able to identify Rex Heuermann and go forward with being able to place him under arrest.
Now, when you say the box, you're talking about the box that was made identifiable through cell phone
Correct.
Data analysis.
Correct.
Let me ask you this. You said publicly, you called Rex Heuermann a demon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
At what point did you decide that that was the best characterization of him?
Yeah, you know, and a lot of people have, I don't want to say challenged me for using that word. I'm going to tell everybody right now that I speak on behalf of the family. Anybody that lost a loved one to this predator, I'm sure they feel the same way. And as I was writing out my talking points, and as well as I was working with my PIO, we felt that was the right word. This is somebody that ruined families. And I'm just blessed to be in a position to see him being held accountable. I will also share there's a lot more work that needs to be done. We still have 6 other bodies that we need to identify who the killer is. But as of now, it was just really great work by the men and women of the task force. I got to thank my Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byer. I got to thank some of the individuals assigned from the district attorney's office. There was a retired lieutenant by the name of Rich Zacharies, and there's another retired lieutenant, Bill Buchanan. Both of those individuals were there on a daily basis regarding having meetings and getting updates and providing information to our Pitbull district attorney, Ray Turney. So it was a nice team effort of everybody coming together. I said this before, Eagles were left at the door, and making sure we worked in harmony on the same sheet of music to identify Rex Heuermann. Now,
there's been some discussion about it. What went into the decision to go ahead and arrest him, right? So, guns. You didn't know all, but you knew he had some, and sex workers, that he was still approaching or dealing with sex workers. his continuing contact with sex workers, were those women in trouble? Was there a plan to protect these women?
Yeah, it was a lot of different layers. By the way, I want to make sure that that's very clear. Between internet searches, between his lifestyle and other activities, him also having, at the time, we believed 97 firearms. There was a concern regarding, is he going to attack again? And as well as, is the information going to leak out? Is this case, knowing that we were onto him, is it going to get back to Rex Heuermann? We weren't sure, how long we could keep it tight. So with all these different layers there, working with Ray Tierney, working with Steve Udis, working with Mike Broderick from the FBI, we all came to a determination that today's the day to bring this man down.
So you've arrested him. You've got him in custody. You go and you search family home, 2 storage facilities, and now you've got the avalanche.
Yeah.
What were you looking for? I really want to ask, did you find anything? But I know you ain't got to tell me that.
Right.
So the question is,
what
were you looking for? Right.
So anything that could connect Rex Heuermann to what we call the Gilgo 4, or the other people that were recovered, that we discovered over in Ocean Parkway, or somewhere something else. Listen, the first body went missing in 2007. Rex Heuermann was, I believe, 43 years old at that time. Is this his first time dealing with sex workers? Is this the first time that he's might have hurt or killed somebody? Time will tell. That's why the task force is going to stay in place. That's why I've actually added a couple more investigators to the task force to help out with concerns or something that may be connected to other parts of the country. So it's important that people understand that we're in a okay place, but there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. We were able to bring comfort to 3 families. We're very close to a 4th one, but we still have more work to do to identify the subject or subjects that were involved with the other bodies that were discovered.
Okay, so you mentioned suspects. Is there somebody else running around out there that we on Long Island need to be concerned with?
I wish I could give you an answer. I can't tell you at this time. Is Rex Heuermann going to be held accountable for the other bodies over there in Ocean Parkway? Time will tell. But if not, we'll continue to work hard and see if there's other individuals involved and track them down as well and make sure we bring them into custody.
Well, in all of your search, I have to ask, was there any indication of victims of violence in the house, in the storage unit, in the truck?
I'm sure you could understand I can't talk too much about what was recovered and the details of those items that were brought into our custody. But I will say this. We have Ray Tierney in the position to make sure he needs what he needs to go forward with the prosecution. And working with our medical examiner's office, our state police, recovering items from his residence, from the storage facility, getting that avalanche from South Carolina, bringing it up, and wherever else things come to our attention, we'll continue to investigate it and make sure we provide our district attorney with all the evidence so he can go forward with it.
Are you looking at missing women or unsolved deaths at this particular point in time?
So that's why we added more investigators to the task force. And if there's something that possibly may have a connection or a modus operandi similar to what we saw in Ocean Parkway, these investigators are going to make sure they work with that local law enforcement authority and see if it's connected to Rex Heuermann or maybe to somebody else.
So when you talked about modus operandi, strangulation is what you're looking at, the way the bodies were disposed. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, once again, is that something I can't share regarding the way that the deaths were done by Mr. Heuermann. I will say this, that we know it's a homicide based upon certain parts of the body and how it was examined by a medical examiner's office, but regarding how it was done, I can't share that with you at this time.
How important is DNA evidence in this? I noticed his attorney is saying, no, we don't want to do this cheek swab. But from your perspective, how important is DNA evidence here?
Humongous. It puts him on the scene. You know, one thing is having a green avalanche, but having his DNA attached to the bodies is a game changer. It tells a lot. It tells that he was somehow involved in these victims' lives, and that's something that's going to be very, very valuable going forward with the prosecution.
Updates from other jurisdictions. We know a lot of people were working, or you guys are working with a lot of other people trying to figure that out. Is there any update that you can give us?
Not at this time. I know there was some concerns about some of the unfortunate bodies that were discovered in Atlantic City. At this time, we don't believe that there's any connection to those unfortunate victims. So as of right now, we don't have any connection to anything else, not just in the state of New York, but around the country. But I will say this, we'll continue to investigate, and we're working with any local authority that has a concern about Rex Heuermann possibly being a suspect in something that they might have discovered as well.
Mr. Heuermann has said that he is not guilty, and his attorney in defending him has said this, and I'll read this to you. While the government has decided to focus on him, despite more significant and stronger evidence, we're looking forward to defending him in a court of law before a fair and impartial jury of his peers. Is there anything you can tell us about what the lawyers characterize as, and I quote him, more significant and stronger evidence? What's he talking about? Any idea?
I have no idea. All I know is this, he's in our custody, he's off the streets, and we're going to look to make sure that he doesn't come out ever again.
Have you had occasion to speak to him or see him?
Not my job.
Have you talked to people in your department who have had a chance to talk to him and see him?
I did. One of my detectives that first engaged him and told him he was under arrest, he told me a little snapshot about how that engagement went. But outside of that, I'm more worried about continuing to keep the task force together and making sure that going forward, we still continue to investigate the other bodies over on Ocean Parkway.
Well, I've seen video, I think many of us have, of your guys, I believe, walking behind him.
Yep.
It was at 35th and 5th in the city.
Yep.
What can you tell us about, was he surprised? Did he see it coming? Was he expecting this? Especially given in the bail sheet that you knew that he was trying to figure out what you guys were doing.
What I was told is that he didn't see it coming. Regarding his level of surprise or any other thing that he might have done regarding his actions, I'm not privy to it. The one thing is that the tactically did it correct. We had a plan in place to make sure that none of my officers or investigators got hurt. I'm very proud of how they handled the situation, and then we were able to bring him back with no incident. So it was really good work by the homicide investigators, as well as the work with District Attorney Ray Tierney, and really saying that, hey, listen, we got to move forward with this case.
Well, this is Long Island, so we have to talk about politics, right? We absolutely, positively. Your boss, and you've mentioned him before, Steve Bellone, he's term limited, so he's out of here at the end of the year. Can you tell us a bit about your plans?
Yeah, well, first of all, we say he's out of here like that's a kind of like a good riddance.
I don't mean that at all.
Oh, okay.
Term limits kind of take you to that point, though.
I just want to make sure that I had the utmost respect for that man.
Yes.
He gave me opportunity to be the police commissioner out here, and just the things that I've seen the last 18, 19 months that I've been here have been very, very impressive. Make sure that that's clear. Regarding my next steps, time will tell. Whatever comes my way, I'll always make sure I share it with my family. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but my wife's a retired lieutenant, so she knows this journey very well. Two of my daughters are New York City police officers, which I'm very proud of, and I still have one daughter that's playing college basketball, which I try to get down there as much as possible to catch her game. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. We'll see who wins the position of the next county executive. I'm not sure if they're going to reach out to me regarding potentially retaining me or not, but if not, then I'll find something to do.
Well, you got ahead of me there because I was going to ask, if they did reach out and ask you to stay, would you?
It'd be something that I have to discuss with my family, and then we'll make a decision. We'll make a decision together.
Well, let's try a different way. So whether you stay or whether you go, what should happen to the task force next, even if it goes into another administration and another police commissioner?
Well, I will say that if anybody that comes in behind me and they choose to dismantle the task force, shame on them. The task force is what got us in the place where we are today. A lot of great work, a lot of long days, a lot of hours put into this investigation. But I will say this, we still have more victims to investigate. And if we take the task force away, who's to say that we won't go backwards? So hopefully, if I'm not here, whoever comes in after me, my replacement, will keep the task force together.
And with that, thank you, Commissioner Rodney K. Harrison. You like that middle initial for joining us today. And I am Joy Brown for Newsday TV.